74 days until Election Day, and the issues of race and bigotry are now dominating campaign 2016.
Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are trading harsh accusations. KCAL9 political reporter Dave Bryan joins us now with a look at how their respective parties are reacting to all of this. Dave?
Absolutely. Not even Labor Day yet, which is the traditional start of the campaign. And you wonder, how much more heated can this campaign get? It was Hillary Clinton on the attack today, charging Donald Trump has connected his campaign with radical white nationalists and fringe groups, declaring a Trump presidency would be unpredictable and erratic.
He is taking hate groups mainstream and helping a radical fringe take over the Republican Party.
In an attempt to define Donald Trump for undecided voters, Hillary Clinton is trying to tie Trump to the alt-right, a white nationalist movement that's creating an online following.
These are racist ideas, race-baiting ideas, anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant.
Thursday evening, Trump responded in an interview with CNN's Anderson Cooper.
I don't even know. Nobody even knows what it is, and she didn't know what it was. This is a term that was just given that, frankly, there's no alt-right or alt-left. All I'm embracing is common sense.
But Clinton charges Trump has cultivated the support of such groups with dangerous intentions.
A man with a long history of racial discrimination who traffics in dark conspiracy theories drawn from the pages of supermarket tabloids and the far dark reaches of the internet should never run our government or command our military.
Trump denies he ever engaged in racial discrimination and settled a federal lawsuit against him with no admission of guilt. Furthermore, he told CNN, if anyone's a racist in this campaign, it's Hillary Clinton.
Well, she is a bigot because you look at what's happening to the inner cities. You look at what's happening to African Americans and Hispanics in this country because she's selling them down the tubes, because she's not doing anything for those communities. She talks a good game, but she doesn't do anything.
She has hatred or
her policies are bigoted.
Her
policies are bigoted because she knows they're not going to work.
To hammer her point home, Clinton focused on Trump's hiring of Breitbart chairman Stephen Bannon to run his campaign. Bannon has acknowledged Breitbart as a platform for the radical alt-right.
Here are a few headlines they've published. Birth control makes women unattractive and crazy. Hoisted high and proud, the Confederate flag proclaims a glorious heritage.
Former Breitbart editor Ben Shapiro left the website when Bannon took over and has been critical of him since. He says Hillary Clinton hardly has any room to criticize anyone for racism and bigotry, but nonetheless, he agrees that Bannon taking over the Trump campaign opened the door to both.
I think the addition of Steve Bannon has certainly mainstreamed what was a fringe movement, especially a movement that Trump was winking and nodding at already. I personally am appalled by both of the candidates. I find Hillary Clinton to be the most corrupt person ever to run for high office, and I find Donald Trump to be an absolute electrical fire of a candidate.
And finally, Clinton got in one last dig on Trump.
His latest paranoid fever dream is about my health. And all I can say is, Donald, dream on.
Well, in that interview on CNN tonight, Trump continued to dance around another issue, his immigration deportation plan, a centerpiece of his primary campaign. Trump said he's not suggesting that illegal immigrants should be allowed to live legally in the U.S. unless they leave the country first and then come back legally and apply for citizenship, apparently contradicting what some people thought he hinted earlier this week in a Fox News town hall. So there we go.
Yeah. Dave, I'm trying to figure out the timing in all this. Clinton comes out with these racist accusations to Trump, but is there a factor into this? What was the timing for this? What brought this on?
Well, the timing is not a fluke. I mean, it was definitely purposeful. I think it is, and there are a few reasons why she would now be doing it. First, Clinton's having a pretty rough week with the new foundation questions and more emails being released. Sometimes changing the subject can stop the bleeding. Second, Trump is now trying to sell himself as a more moderate, reasonable candidate, appealing to African-American voters and tiptoeing back on the mass deportation and immigration issue. And the Clinton campaign is responding now with its own definition of who Donald Trump is, someone who consorts with white nationalists and other radical political fringe groups far out of the mainstream, they say. Jeff?